Okay, page per Aleph. We're gonna go over it again. We're gonna go over again. Piece of yesterday. Shua Mascheles Isol Zuta, page per Aleph, which is a little below half a page. V'ayin ma shekosa b'likotetera ba'abir dani Hashem l'rechem hasheni. So in the Kotetera Shlach, in the Maimon, the second beer on the Maimon, Hashem l'rechem, says the soul bichlal lo lirosh. The soul, the word Yisrael relates to is oisis lirosh. In other words, the word Yisrael is meram, it signifies the madrega of rosh. What's the difference between Yisrael zuta and Yisrael sova? Yisrael zuta upchias golgolta u'meicha dezo. So basically, what he's saying is rosh is mayach. The word rosh in this context at least, as Maram is of the concept of moyach, brain, moichin. Now in moichin gufa, there's two levels of moichin. There's moichin shebemidus, which is the standard moichin, the moichin which we in the nimshal, in the marshal of the human being. Zeir Anpin is the Tzir Adam. Tzir Adam is the regular experience. In other words, in the sphere of that Tzilis. The sphere of that Tzilis is like the body, so to speak. Is the essence of spheres that Tzilis has the 6 meters, Zeir Anpin, and there's the Meichin, which is the mind, the Meichin of the Zoh. So Lirosh means the Rosh of Zoh. So he describes it more specifically. What does Meichin mean? Golgolta u'meicha de Zoh, which means U'mash Zoh ba'atika ochad v'taldi. The Mayach of Zoh is the connection of Zoh to Atik. Why? The Kanoida, the Gam Bezoh, even the level of Zoh, Mimitzchol L'maylo P'nes Asher Lo Yoshav Adam Shom. Below the other Maimorim, this concept, the Gemara says in Nivamas, I think, L'gabi Ilchus Agunis. How do we identify a person? Because if there's an aguna found a corpse, and we have to identify the person. How to identify him? So the Gemara says that the way you can identify a person is only from the forehead and below the forehead, the eyes, the nose, that identifies the person. But the metzach, the forehead, is not it can't identify a person by the forehead. That's the Gemara. So Kabbalah uses this same concept that the metzach, the forehead, represents the madrega in the person, the madrega in the person, not person, the personality, in the shape of Tzir Adam, which is a l'mayla mitzir. That's why the metzach doesn't have the metzach, according to the halacha, does not really tell you who the person is, which means that metzach is above. That's why it's called lo yoshav adam shom. That's what he says. The l'mayla b'chinas adam. So the metzach is l'mayla b'chinas adam. B'meile b'negel in yoneinu. So the rosh, the metzach and the rosh both represent something which is above the Zoh, above the tzir of the person, something above him. That's Yisrael Zuta. Pchinas Yisrael Sova, Pchinas go to the Arich Antimam.
So why is it Atik?
Because in other words, the fact that Zoh has within it can you hear me good? The fact that Zoh has
Yeah, we can hear you well.
The level within which is above tziyur, that's an expression of atik, an expression of something which is above the essence of Zoh. Zoh be'etzem. What is Zoh? Zoh is the midas, Chag Chesed Gvur Tiferes, which is old Tziyur. Atik is above Tziyur. So the way Zoh, the way Atik expresses himself in Zoh is to the mitzvah. Mitzvah the Atik. That's what it says in the Maimon over there in the Torah. I think it's also it's also Roish, but it's higher level of Roish. It's not the go to Mechad Zoh. It's not that part of this Zoh, the Roish of Zoh, but it's the Roish of Arichantin, which is above the Tziyur Odom, above the Chlal, the Zoh. It's not the Roish of Zoh, it's the Roish of Arichantin. Go to this is. So this is
higher than Arich Anpin. What is Zoh be'atik or Ochid D'Talia?
The fact that Zoh, the fact that Zoh has within it a level which is above Tziyu, that is an expression of the Gilei Atik Shebezoh. The fact that within the experience of Midas, you have a part which is mitzvah, which is above Tziyu, that comes from a madrega which is above Tziyu. That's called Atik. That's the whole point is making it. Right? So the fact that it's above Arich is not Sanegay in our mind.
Klal is Tziyur. Zoh is Midas.
Yes, Tziyu, Midas is Tziyu. The real Tziyu is in Midas. Meichen, biachas to Midas, Meichen is Afshotim. Meichen is abstract. Midas is Tziyu. It means it's already defined and shaped. It's subjective. Biachas to that, the Meichen is a gili of Atik the way it is in Zoh. It's a gili of such a madriga which is not defined by specific attributes, by specific shapes and definitions. Yeah, again, we can go further. In the Maim over there, it talks. I think the mile of his souls because it's batik achid v'tali, but that's not negay here. Well, so we see from this Maimah that the chilz of his soul sov and his soul zuta is the soul zuta is the law of madriga, which is meichen shebez gogolta meichen shebezoh. Mashenken in Sova is as Arichantin, which is above Bechlal, above any. That's it's called Arich versus Ze'er. Ze'er Anpin is small, diminished in the sense that it's more limited and it's more defined. Mashenken Arich Lashon Arichus in the sense. Like it says, Gambit Or, which means it's unlimited. So Arichantin is a madrega, is Meichen the Arichantin, go to the Arichantin. So that is a higher gilui of the in Sof, which is above this seal. The Mele. And we just said before that the two madregas, the Knesset is so of the law madrega malchus, of the lie madrega malchus, roimus malchus, and roimus atzmis, roimus al-am, they're connected. The roimus atzmis is makabel from his soul sova. Roimus malchus, roimus al-am is makabel from his soul zuto. So now you see, according to what it says in that maimah, that maimah to b'meile kumtois, he says that the malchus, the madrega of malchus, is roimus Atzmi is makabel from his soul sova, which is go to the Arich. Mashenk and madrega of malchus, which is remes al-am, is makabel from zuto, which is moichin the Zoh. Shloimah. So now he tells us how this is expressed in Avodas Hashem. The Avodah Chinas go to the Zoh, the Arichantin zevnes usa the liber. So it brings in the concept of the Liba. Remember, we learned in the Maimah before the Liba, but it was the Maimah before now. Before that, First, he spoke how Usa the Liba is, I think he spoke about Hiloch versus Diluk. The Usa the Liba is Hiloch, and Shuva is Diluk. So Usa the Liba is a Usa the Liba really is a Loshna Zoya, which means Ratzon Shebelev, which really signifies a sort of inner drive and desire and yearning to connect to the Eibush, which is above any constraints of the intellect. Also the liba, it's a pure Ratzon Shebelev, that he says Prinas Ratzon Shemeir b'Shabbos. That level of Ratzon shines on Shabbos. So he's going to talk later about more what Shabbos. Al idei avoda the Ratzon Natach. So we learned earlier also in this Amshah that Shabbos is a gilui, which is a result of Avodas Adam, like it said, Misha Torah Be'erev Shabbos, Echel B'Shabbos. Oya Malach Shish Yomim Bein Edei Masat Shabbos Imne. Which all a sign that the Avodah of Shabbos is a result of the Avodah of Chel. It says in our case, so the Ratzon Usa the Liba, which is Ratzon Shemeir B'Shabbos, which really brings out a certain connection and yearning that the neshama has to the Eibush, which is above Tam V'Das, but it's really a result of the Avodah. The Ratzon not Tachten. I know Avodah Shel Tam V'Das is Sheish Mechel. So also the Liba is Ratzon Shabbos, which is the Mailamim in Tam V'das, and that comes as an extension, as a result of the Avodah of Sheish Mechel, which is the Ratzon Avodah Shel Tam V'das, which comes with the Torah of Yaakov. All this is in Torah. Mavur Sham the Mahamshach, the Shabbos Nimshach Ben Ha'or Gam B'Sheish Yemei HaMa'aseh B'Tefillah. So over there he also says that this level of Rosa the Liba that we reach Shabbos shines in the Avodah of Yemei HaChol, which is Achonatu. In other words, B'Shas and davening Yemei HaChol, so B'chlal, the davening itself, it's a result of his beinunus, and it's part of the Avodah of Yemei HaChol. It's related to reality, but within that davening of Yemei HaChol, there's also the tzakas alev l'chalas nafshel l'izbor. Within davening, there is an aspect which is a pure scream of the heart, which is again another way of describing this irrational yearning to connect to the Eivashter, and that is, it says, is really how it says in Torah over there. That's the fact that when we daven during the week, we also could sometimes, during davening, reach the level of Tzakas Alev. That's really how of the Tefillah of Shabbos. B'meile, what does it mean? Zeo, so b'meile, that explained. So he uses this Torah to explain the point we just made. We spoke about the Spheres L'mayla. Shleima zeo prince liroish the zo so zuto. Also the Shabbos up in so. So see, like I mentioned yesterday, in the next few page and a half, he's going to bring small examples to develop the point he made about the two madrigas and malchus. So it's right now, he described how the two madrigas and malchus are connected to Sol Sov and Sol Zuta. Then he explained what the Torah of what is the difference in Sol Sov and Sol Zuta. Now he talks about how this affects the Avodas Hashem. The Sol Sov, that's the Liba of Shabbos. And the Sol Zuta, that's the Ha'or of those, the Liba of Shabbos, the way you feel it in the Tefillah from Echel. So now he describes more. He gives a more elaborate and precise description of the difference between these two stages, levels of yearning, the way it is in the Tzakas Alev, the way it's the Chayil, and the way it is Shabbos. The also the tefillah, the also the liber the tefillah shebesheishes in mea ma'aser, cycle chalis nafshe and a shorot leikolo. So in other words, the feeling that a person gets doing in the tefillah of Yimaisach mea ma'aser Yimaisach choil is more of a feel escape. He wants to escape his reality, and he wants to run away from his current type of existence within the constraints of Yimei HaMaaseh, because he's not comfortable. He wants to l'chalis. He wants to place a nefesh. He wants to run away from his limits. So that's also the libo has more this, I would call it negative way of escape. It's an escape, feeling of escape. Vashenken, the also the libo the Shabbos. Commercial is called mamish. Because bittul b'mitzius. No, it's in other words, it's not. He's not in a state that he wants to run away. He's there already. Even the lashon, because but v'chein nimtza bo. That's the lashon of the over there in Vayakol. That he's there. The person when it's Shabbos, when he's in the state of also the libo, it's not that he's running away from something. He feels that he's there. He feels the direct connection to godliness. This is more specific description of the difference between the experience that one is supposed to experience in the davening of Yimei Chayil versus the davening of Shabbos. That, in other words, in Yimei Chayil, it's more a feeling of running away, of escaping. Shabbos is more experience of being there, feeling the connection. It's what we call sometimes avakamayim. If you feel you reached your desired place and you're just experiencing it.
So also the labor of Sheishes Yemei HaChoil is coming from the also the labor of Shabbos, and at the same time, the also the labor of Shabbos is coming as a result of Sheishes Yemei HaChoil, right?
Yeah. No, but it's still meaning. It's two way. Okay, you made a good point now. But he said one is coming as a result, the other is a different way of saying a result. We reach, in other words, we cannot reach the Rosa Liba of Shabbos unless we start with the Rosa Liba of Mesachayil. That's Mishator Shabbos. But during the Rosa Liba of Mesachayil, we feel our aura of that Shabbos in order for us to be able to start it before. That's what we spoke all along in the back, and before that. So there has to be a gilim in a mile in order to give us the koyach. Okay, you're right. But the reason he brought the point here,
what one is causing the other in both ways.
Okay, good. Yeah, true. Now it brings another dogma. V'ayin ma shekosa b'ira hazeh tazriya, sefer b'ira hazeh, mital Rebbe's b'ira hazeh, which is really a nochas the mital Rebbe of my mom, the Alter Rebbe and Zayah. So al maimar hazeh daf memtes. In Zayah Chele Gimel Pashas Tazriya daf memtes, it says over there, be'inyan rotze v'shoif shem chachma u'bina. In Zayah, I don't know if it says in Zohar actually, but so in the Maimar it says over there that Rotze v'shoiv is Chachma u'bina. We learned it also in some Maimorim and I think Samachei and Ateres. The Bina and Chachma u'bina can compare to Rotze v'shoiv. So you bring Rotze, I think the way it works is Bina is Rotze and Chachma is Shoiv. So he says over there, that's what it says. What's the
Rosh Hashanah? Aleph Mem Hey Zayin.
The Aleph is coming out. So what it says there is that there's the Rotze and the Shoiv. Rotze means running, Shoiv means going back. So he says a very simple thing, that Rotz is to run. In order to run, he only runs to something if you in a distance from it. If I'm far away from something, I run it to it. But when I reach it, I don't have to run anymore. So that's what he says over there, that הרוץ, לירס המלך עדיין מאורגם המלך. שבו בקיר מבחינת שויף, היינו מבחינת ביטל במציאס. So that is another way. This is an elaboration of the point he just made before. That when the davening of Taakhal is ritza, he's still running because he's after the escape. He wants to run away from his own constraints and connect to the Ebershter to connect the Ebershter in a way, in a very strong connection. Also the Liba. That is the Taakhal. But Shabbos, he reached there already. When you reach closer to the Melech, you don't have to watch anymore. The Ein is Bittel b'Mtzius. So that is the Bittel b'Mtzius, like we just said when I get to the Rus of the Liba. The lesson also is the Rus of the Liba Tefillah, Bittel b'Mtzius. He loses himself. He doesn't have to run anymore. He's there. He reached the point that he doesn't feel any significance anymore. Then it says, "Shezeo b'chinas hachachma." That's the madrig of chachma. But that's like I said, Rotza is bina. Shoyd is chachma. So what's negets chachma? The Haggavi brings in when they get to the point that shoyd is the beetle of Rotza. It means a pasuk. Ba'amdam ta'pena chanfeir. Pasuk when they get to Merkavas Cheskel say that when the malachim run and fly, their wings are in full force. But when they stop, their wings weaken. Why? Because they don't need to run anymore. He reached the destination already. He brings this pasuk because the pasuk is used to describe that concept. Yodua the b'shokit. So that fits what it says in Birei Isaiah. The Shoyves Chachma fits what we just said earlier, that the level of the Liba of Shabbos is Bittel b'Metzius. There's no Tzaika, there's no Kloisa Nefesh, there's no Ritza. That fits Shabbos Meichen Da'aba. Shabbos is the Gilui of Meichen Da'aba. Shabbos is the Gilui of Chachma, a bit to the smart the Chachma, she's there, Prince Ein the Kessamam. Now he goes into more detail that within Chachma Gufa, what level of what is the bit of the mother Chachma, because Chachma itself is made up of two words, of two parts, Koyach Ma, the Ma, that's the Ein the Kess. Hakoponim, it's all part of describing how he saw Sova is the higher level. The cause there. But let's not forget, we started talking about the Sol Sova and the Sol Zuta and describing the mile of the Sol Sova, which is the Tefillah of Shabbos, Shoiv, Bittel b'Metzius. All this is part of explaining the two Madrigas and Malchus. The cause of Shanim, Shalom, Yisrael, the Pnas Malchus. How do we reach these levels of his soul? To Malchus. The male, it's the Madrigas and Malchus. Shehi, Amemutz al-Chaba Atzilus Aliyah. So that's what he finishes. What connects us? According to what we described in the minor in Teirah, that what connects us? The tefillas, the two levels of tefillah. The mele tefillah the chayil, tefillah the Shabbos. They're basically the soul. The mele going back to our discussion of the two levels in Malchus, that these two madrigas in tefillah, this is really they they are the two bchinas of necessary. Two madrigas Malchus, as we said earlier, the bchina of Smekam from the Sol Sov and the Sol Zut, different language, Oim Mosala. Atzmit and Oim Mosala. Gam Yeshloima. Another way, I don't know what Gam Yeshloima means. No, it's another way to describe it. That's how we're going to look at it now. Base madregas anal, that feel the base madregas anal. Another way to describe these two madregas in tefillah, the tefillah the chayil, u'pchinas mitzcha de zoy, and u'pchinas rotzen levad. Mitzcha de zoy, like we said earlier, that they saw the liroish of so zutta. That's mitzcha de zoy. That's the forehead of zoy, which means rotzen levad, pure rotzen. The rotzen of tefillas chayil is only rotzen. Tefillas Shabbos. Tefillah the Shabbos was mitzvah the Arichan. That's what sheyesh by tainik shezerin and ostisanak. So now, okay. So until now, I spoke the difference. One is like Rotzoi that he didn't reach yet, and one is Shoy that he reached it. So now he says it different. We can say that it's a new view, or maybe it's the same concept just described differently. I'm not sure. But now the way that differentiates it in these two levels of Rutsa the Liba, one is pure Rotzen, and one is Rotzen sheyesh by tiny. Now the Rotzen is not some desire that causes delight, that causes a certain level of tiny. So tiny is higher. It means a pasuk. Ostisanak says about in Ishaya about Shabbos, in Tosha v'Shabbos Raglecha. The Tainug that Shabbos we reached not Stam Rotzen but Tainug. Now he brings another point. To specify even more what the madregas are. Efshar, okay, it says machalik now between the connection of Zot to Atik and Arichantin to Atik. Earlier we said that the metzach of Zot, that Zot Atik Achid V'Tali. So it's really connected to Atik. No, but we said that the difference. It says Ve'efshar mashu Zot Atik Achid V'Tali. Achid V'Tali means it's united and it depends on it totally, but it depends and it's hanging. So in the Maimon over there, it talks about Madregas and Avas Hashem. So he says over there, there's a level of Ava, there's a level of Avas Hashem. In Antanya, describes a lot of levels in Avas Hashem. Here in this Maimon Torah, he says that there's a level that the fact that we find in Kabbalah, that the Madriga of Zoh is connected to Atik. How does that express itself in our Veda, in our Neshama? Avativis. Zoh is Midas, Ava. Avativis means the fact that we have the natural. Sometimes they call it the Avamas. The fact that the Shama is the natural love, the Ava, the Ebershter. So that is the expression of Zovatei V'Tali. It says in the Maimon over there, the Gam Kishem is Barim, this place Ava Rabba. The Ava Tilis is really not a very it's not as strong. It's not a strong type of love. Avativis means it's a natural. It's a naturally ingrained type of love connection, but there's no storm. There's no strong desire. Just built in that part of my existence is that I love the Eibishter, but there's no strong. There's no Ava Rabba. The Gamsham is Barim. It says Ava Rabba. Gamsham is Barim. Yes, Ava Rabba. This Ava Tivis can grow into a stage of Ava Rabba. Like it says in Tanya, the person thinks into his within himself the fact that he has a built-in Ava to the Ebershter, you can develop it into Avarab. It still stays in a way of Rotzen, but that tiny. That's what it says there. In the interior. But Markamacha Kemedume, it's interesting. The Rebbe Shab says Kemedume. Dacht sich mir, ששלוימה שזהו הגדולת המידס לאחר הזבנינוס כמו שמספרנו מצד עצמו. So over there it talks about, actually, this concept we learned a little barichas in the Hemshech Rosh Hashanah Samachei, if you remember. So over there it speaks about that a person I have a built-in nature. A person has a built-in nature to love something, but in order for that love, that feeling, the yearning, should be, she should feel it strongly. It should be really drawn to it. There has to be his beinenus. He has to concentrate his mind, the gmoichin. He has to be helped from his intellect to develop it. So he says this point that the avativis becomes avarabba, it's a result of his beinenus. He has a built-in avativis. Person has a built-in avativis, but in order that should turn into avarabba, into a very strong level of ava, needs these beinenus. That's the agdola. Somebody is not his beinenus. What?
This is a merkava?
No, it's just the baramas. It's just the baramas is love the in and over.
Avativis is merkava?
I don't know. I said it's just the baramas. The whole merkava thing is just like an address. Where is it there? The baramas is love in and over. It's not. We're not talking about merkava. In over there, he talks about zoba tek achad v'talia. Zeo is not merkava. Zeo goes on zoba tek achad v'talia. When we say zoba tek achad v'talia, means that zo the moishin the midas through avoda you can connect it to avarabba, which is the atik. That's how I explains it. B'Shabbos who midas shebekesav atika mamash. The Shabbos, the midas are not, in other words, that is the law, that is all zutta. That's what from Levad with that kind. That happens by my Sachel. Shabbos, the midas shebekesav atika mamash. Shabbos, we reach that's midas shebekes. It's pure emotion, which is not constrained by his beinenus. The melee, it's kesser mamish. In our case, kesser mamish means tiny. Okay, so he added. So basically, in the Gam Yeshloima, he added a new way to describe the difference between the Rosh of the Liba of Yemei Sachel and Rosh of the Liba of Shabbos. Before the Yeshloima, the difference was that this is the yearning, the odds, and this is the achievement that you really reached the destination of yearning. That's one way to. Now the Gam Yeshloima says not only did you, it's in a different state, different level. The yearning is only to the level. It's only in a state of the Ava, which is built in the Ava TVs. It means it's all a result of the inner. He says even his beinenus. It's all a result of the person's inner. I'm jumping from the mashal to the nimshal. By the way, he talks about the way it's in the mashal, in the person, in the human experience, that the Ava. The Rosh of the Liba of Yemei Sachel is a Rosh of the Liba, which is an extension of the Avativs. So it's only the level of Rotz. Mashenkin, the Rosh of the Liba Shabbos is a higher level. It's
before he said about Gulgalto of Arich Anpin Mamish. Now he's talking about Atikom Mamish.
Yeah, he says, look what he says. Zobatik Achid Vitalia. That's only Achid Vitalia means there's an act of connecting it, which is through these beinenus. But Shabbos is Atika Mamish. Yeah, exactly. So
before he used the expression not Atiko Mamesh, but Arich Anpin Mamesh.
Right. So that's what he said. Even here, look what it says on top. Look at the third line. The third line says, Mitzvah the Zok, Nesrotz, Shul Shas Mitzvah the Arich Anpin, or Rotzel Sheyesh B'Tainim. So the Mitzvah the Arich Anpin, he adds another correction. Arich Anpin as a mile of a Mitzvah the Zok, because it's Yesh B'Tainim, which in the next line he says that's the reach Atik Mamish. He's jumping from one to the other. Okay, so now we finished describing the two levels of also the Liba. Now he goes back to actually to the back and forth, but he's connecting the way we started the whole discussion. The discussion of this Maimah is not about the soul, it's about Malchus. So the only thing, don't forget, the whole discussion started because it said, Meir God is the Gili Shechina. So he started saying that Gili Shechina is Malchus the Ein Sof. So in order to describe what Malchus the Ein Sof is, he got into a long discussion what Malchus is. And he spoke about two Madrigas and Malchus. Two Madrigas and Malchus are connected to two Madrigas in his soul. So now he's going back, but we're still within the discussion. So that is why Malchus is called Shechina, because Malchus makes this connection. In first of all, look what it says at the top. In misconnect, but in the connection group, there are two levels in connection. There's the connection of the lower level, is called Zuta, also the Liba from Taakhel, which we call Ava TVs. And then there's the Malchus, the way it's the higher level of connection. So Malchus is called Shechina. Shechenes not Shechenes betachtenim, but Shechenes belashon that it dwells, it connects the highest to the lower. Now he says he brings in a shtickle. It's Chaim to.
I'm sorry. What has to do Shechina? The word Shechina and his Chabrus. There isn't a connection. I mean,
That's exactly Okay, so let's go back a step.
No, as I said, the word Shechina doesn't means resting, as you mentioned, and but here it's saying that's connected to the Chabrus.
Okay, so go back to page Ayin Tes, in the bottom of page Ayin Tes. The Shloima Dina Malchus he mechaberes. Malchus is Chabrus. He brings Malchus nika Keren, where Keren zog shemechaber beis ksorim umoken a Malchus this. Then he says, so b'meile what he says is that Shechina, it's not just this is where did he say that?
The line from the bottom,
in test first he says Machas Shechina Hashem Shechina betachtonim omnam gam kamo ish ba'atzilus nika Shechina the shloimer shemechaberes. So I mean it's still the same point of Shechina, that Shechina is lamata, but it's not the aspect of the Yerida lamata, it's more the aspect of connecting. That's like a subtle difference. I don't know how. In other words, when he say that in other words, what he want, like I just read in the beginning of our Maimah, bottom page in test. When we say Shechenes, we can look at it from two ways. We can see it as that it reaches us, that it reaches Tachtonim. But he says there's another aspect to it. It's the one that makes the connection. It connects the highest world to the lower world. It also means Shechenes v'tachtenim, but it's more emphasizing that aspect, that not just that it reaches the tachtenim, that it brings the Elyonim into the tachtenim. I don't know how. It's not like it's not so much, I believe, like a linguistic analysis of the word Shechina. We're not talking linguistics here. We're talking about the concept. That the concept of Shechina, he says, has two aspects. This chabos, this chabos hanal, he means what he mentioned in the beginning of the Maimah. This chabos, the Keren Zovis. Now he goes into Chatzi Eagle into a Nuta.
Because I'm sorry, he's saying just because the Shekhinah has two parts of it, and Malchus is the Mechaber. That's why it's called that Malchus is called Mechaber is Bechanat Or Sof Im Olamos. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm repeating what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. Let's go further. Beitz Chaim Shas Seder Abiyah Perik Tesvov. In Eitz Chaim, in Kabbalah, in Sefer Kabbalah, Eitz Chaim, in this particular location, Shas Seder Abiyah Perik Tesvov Kosav. The Masha Malchus Nasa Atik Lo'ilam Shalamato says in Kabbalah that the Malchus of the Olam Shalamayla, let's say the Olam of Hatzilus, Malchus becomes the Atik of the Olam Shalamata. Who b'shel hakesher shel ha'olam, it's eine von des Chitzenis ha'olam. וכאשר יהיה תספס אויר, יוכל להיות על ידי זה, יזכר לסלם התחתן בעולם העליון, וכוסף שם בדין השבס. המסבר כאן, אופנס פנים ישראל. Okay, now, he brings in another point that in its Chaim, it's mashma, in other words, we just have to separate between two aspects. When there's the Gilui of let's okay, in our case Malchus, the Gilui of Malchus when Malchus lowers itself, descends into the world of Bria. There are two parts here. One is to create Bria, to create a lower world. The other is to bring godliness into Bria. It's two different aspects, right? It's to create, create fakir. Create means to create something separate. At the same time, Malchus also means to connect, to bring it, in other words, you create this separate entity and then you bring in godliness into that entity. The two parts. So, and up till now, we looked at Malchus as the second stage. The second stage, which means the aspect of Malchus, which is to connect godliness into this world, not to create a separate world. So he says that in Eitz Chaim, he talks about the first act. In Eitz Chaim, he says that Malchus creates the world. In order to create the world, it's Nasa Atik LeBria, which means it lowers itself to become the creator of Bria. And then when there's a Tosfos Oyer, then when there is when Olam HaBria experiences an additional flow of godliness. In other words, it doesn't just feel separate, it feels connected to the Eibishter. So over there it says, that's Tosfos. So that Malchus itself, like I said, is only it's not in order to be mamshech leikus in the world. It's in order to create world. The answers that over there it talks 15 years. Now he talks, he says, in Malchus Gufa, there are two aspects. The aspect that he speaks in its Chaim over there, that's the Chitzonius of Malchus. The Chitzonius of Malchus, Take, its function is just to create the world. Mashenk in the Pnimius of Malchus, that's its Chabos, to connect the Likus and Eilamis, not just to create the Eilamis. Okay, but it's the Chagav, just to make all the puzzles fit, that what it says in our mind should fit, or it says in its Chaim. Okay, but that we're not going to get too much into it. But now he brings in another way to explain why Malchus is Shechina. והרי זה על דרך שהבינה נקרא Shechina. So when we say that Malchus is connects the Likusin Welt, is connects that Isol Sov and Isol Zuta with the law Madrigas, it's out there that Bina is also called Shechina. Like I mentioned the Mayim Basalagani, that sometimes Bina is called Shechina. Why is Bina called Shechina? Al Shem Shemashkenes Gimel Yishenes V'Zayin Tachtenis. In the world we just mentioned in a few lines earlier, in our world, in the human experience, what is the function of Bina? Is Bainanus, breaking down the intellectual experience into feelings. How does that happen? Bina is the aspect of the intellect, the intellectual experience that creates and enables us to feel. Person has feelings. He has understanding. He has intellectual insight. In order that the intellectual insight should affect his feelings, his emotions, Bina. He needs the aspect of Bina, which means that's the function of breaking down and explaining and understanding, comprehending well the specifics and all the aspects of the intellectual experience that in turn creates the feelings. So similarly in the sphere of Lamaila, the sphere of Bina is called Shechina because Bina brings down Moichin into Midas. Shemashkenes Gimel Yishenes V'Zayin Tachtenis. The sphere of Bina is also called Shechina because its function is to create the ability of the Madreg of Meichin to lower Gimel Yishenes to be lower itself in the Zayin Tachtenis. V'hu inyan Chibur Yudke V'Vavke She Hashem Shalom. That brings in another point that we learn when we get to Puri, Pashas B'Shalach, Ki Yod Al Keis Ko, V'Cham Al Hashem B'Amalek, Yudke. So Rashi says, She'ein Hashem Shalom, actually Hashem Shalom means that the Yudke and the Vavke connect. Yudke is the Meich, Vavke is the Midas. So with that, when there's a Molek, in other words, in the natural way things is this Bina is separate, the Meich is separated from the Midas. And the Yichud Chibur Yudke Vavke, that's Hashem Shalom. This is the ultimate unity of the Shem, which means the unity of the Meich and the Midas. Apiseder is Tashas Ari Mi Bora Eile. Mi Bora Eile means that it's a remez and a sugi in Chassidus. It talks about that Mi Bora Eile. There's a few ways to explain what he says here. Seder Shtashlus, the Yachas of Meichin and Midas. We learned it actually also in Samachay. The Yachas of Meichin and Midas is Yesh Me'ayin. They're in a Kotz al Kotz. Al Derech Yesh Me'ayin. Mi Bora Eile. Eile is the remez of the Shisha Midas, because Eile is 36, 6 times 6 is 36. There's another rimozim how Eile is merames on the concept of Midas. Mi is merames of Bina, of Meichin. So the words Mi Bora Eile is merames the Yachas of Meichin to Midas are there by Yesh Me'ayin. That there are two different worlds. Intellect and emotion are two different worlds. So please say the Ishtalshalos, he says, Meichin and Midas should not have any connection between each other. And that's the reason why Mitzad Al-Piteva Ein Hashem Shalom. There's the Meichin, Yudke, and there's Vavke. That's not the Seder Ishtalshalos. Aber Masha Bina, Mashkenes, Bina is called Shechina because Mashkenes, Sheyeh Gilei HaMeichin Bezo. That Meichin should be Nizgala, so that the Meichin should affect the Maila. וזהו עניין, that brings in another concept. הקדוש ברוך הוא מניח תפילין. What does הקדוש ברוך הוא מניח תפילין mean? Is גילי המייכין בזו. Tefillin is meichin. Tefillin is the daled meichin, the gimel meichin of the parshas and Vatim, the parshas. All explanations in Kabbalah. Tefillin is meichin. Tefillin sheberoish, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu is zo, like we learned. Okay, it's all in the Mitzvah Maimer. Hakadosh Baruch Hu is Kodesh Baruch Hu Shchinte. Kodesh Baruch Hu is zo, and Shchinte is Malchus. It says in Chassidus, Kadosh Baruch Hu Maniach Tefillin means am shachas hameichin gil hameichin bezo. How did this happen? Alidei Tosfos says nitzach matzos and serve okay. Now it brings in another point here. How does that happen? How is it possible? We just said that I'll be Seder Ishtashos. I'll be according to the proper or the normal order of things. Moichin and Midas are two separate things. Yesh me'ayin. So how does Bina have the power to connect them? How do you have how does film connect them? There's a special taste for oil. In the Meichin get a special measure of a stronger energy that in order to be mamshech and sof b'meich. The meich should be nimshach b'midas. And then we'll stop here. We'll revisit it tomorrow. Okay.
Koyach, 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 Koyach.